All right, I'm going to try and show you how to use Telemet IQ pretty quickly here. If there's noise, I'm sorry. There's kids about, and the door is open and stuff. So this is when you download Telemet, it should put this tab. If it didn't already have it in your Excel, it should say Add-ins, and there should be a Telemet IQ. And if you click that, there's this kind of input thing. And what we're going to do to build stock screen, again, if you're in the bounce back group, this is pretty straightforward. If you're in the other, we'll have to build a couple things. But what you're going to do is, I prefer this structure right here, so we can put stock symbols in and then fill in as many fields as we want. Then you just add what fields you want and tell it what symbols. I would just start with any symbol. It doesn't matter what. So I'm just going to start with Apple. We can get rid of it later. I just need to build the form, and then we can use a ticker list to fill in the rest. So I'll kind of show you what this looks like. But anyway, you can hit add, and then you can add one of thousands of freaking things in here. So for anyway, or for what we need anyway, there's a couple of different things. Is it here? Let me see. Net percent change. So if I go into like prices period and I put in net percent change over the last 30 days, that's pretty close to what we want. If we need to be more perfect than that, I believe we can. I don't know. There's a way to do date ranges. For now, I think 30 days is going to be okay, though. So basically looking at what happened in March. So we can go in here and we can say, I want the net percent change over the last 30 days. That's what we want. And I can double click that, and it'll put it in here, and then that's one of the values that it'll give me for whatever symbols I put up here. Okay, and I'm going to add some more. So for our other ones, if we want to do cash things, so we can go down and we can do financial ratios, and we can do acid test. They have the previous year and then the previous quarter. So we could do like acid tests. We could do z-scores would be interesting, although I don't know if we want to get into that as much. But basically it's a model for building probability of default. What else do we want? We could do pure cash. If we want to know how much cash they're holding on their balance sheet. I would prefer using, and there's current ratio. Let's add that. So we'll add the current ratio and acid test. So we can see if they can cover short-term liabilities, since that's a big thing for us. And then we want them to generate a lot of cash flow. So we probably want free cash flow stuff, not enterprise value stuff. Free cash flow, MRQ, and trailing 12 months, so last quarter and last year. And then we're probably going to have to get something to interact with that free cash flow the way we want. So like if we want to then divide by, say, sales. So if we want to see how much cash flow they're generating relative to sales. And then what our job will be is to look at them and say, are they going to be able to maintain sales? So here's revenue trailing 4 quarters. So we can build some stuff like this, and then this is what we'll build our stock screen off of, or how we filter it. Gosh, that banging. Let me see if I close this door. I'll have to listen back, and hopefully you guys will be able to hear this. But we can build out what we need and then hit paste, and it always does this. I don't know why, but it's going to build out a little table-looking thing here. Now you're going to have to give Telemet a second to populate everything. Okay, so it's going to put in these Telemet formulas, and then it's going to take it a minute to populate all of them. Be careful because revenue here is in millions. So they made 267 billion last year. But free cash flow is just in dollars. So you're going to have to end up when we do a ratio, I'll show you here in a second, we're going to have to end up messing with that a little bit. Now, once you have one built, we can just create as many tickers as we want and then fill these down. You have to do a couple things real quick to do that. I did put in the CAW fund folder, which I don't have on this computer. Well, crap. Let me go find that sheet. I found a Russell 3000 ticker list in Excel. I put it out on our CAW fund in just the general. I don't need that. Russell 3000 ticker list Excel. So I found someone who had put out an Excel sheet with a ticker list. So here's all of the Russell 3000 tickers, which is awesome because I don't want to have to go hunt and type in each one separately. That would be horrifically boring and time consuming. So thank you, whoever this guy is, Grant Gigliotti. And we already have Apple in here, but that's okay. We'll do it twice and then we can delete the first one. So I'm just going to Control-Shift down, Control-C, copy all 3,000 tickers. I can drop them below Apple here, and then I can fill all this down. It's then going to take a while for this to fill. The other thing is it locks the row automatically when it builds these out. So you're going to have to go in and delete the $sign and hit Enter on each of these. You cannot tab over it, won't let you. Just warning you ahead of time. Already tried it. But you'll have to go in and delete the $sign that it puts in each of these that's referencing the ticker. And now we can generate this data for all 3,000 companies in the Russell 3000, and we can then filter to find the best ones of these 3,000 companies that fit the criteria we want. So, so then I can highlight this and double click down. Now, this is going to take it a few minutes. So you're going to double click that down. It's going to fill all of this down. And at first, it's all going to be zeros. So you're going to have to give the computer enough time to catch up and enough time for Telemet to feed that data in there if you're doing all this. Now, again, if you're the bounce back group, you can focus on just this net % change over the last 30 days. You don't need a lot more than that. You probably just need that one value for everybody. If they don't have it, so that's AAC, you might check. My guess is that those are, I don't know when he made this ticker list. We have a date on here. It's possible there's been things, it says copyright 2017, so this is probably an old ticker list, so some of the tickers probably aren't good anymore. So like, what was that one? I have so many things open. So like if it can't pull a value for AAC, my guess is if we go search for that ticker, yeah, there is no AAC anymore. They went private. AAC Microtech, I bet that's who it was. So there's probably some in here that aren't going to be good. ABAX is another, it looks like. ABAX also went private. So that's okay. So some of these might have got bought out and things, but we'll still have a couple thousand plus tickers to deal with, so we don't need perfection. We can just delete those out of there. Once it's done populating, so let's see how far down we've populated now. Oh, it's doing pretty good. Yeah, down to the bottom. Yeah, not all the way down yet, but it's doing pretty good. So once it's populated, what I would do is copy paste special the whole darn thing. We're into the ends at least. and then we'll be able to do some calculation and stuff off of it. So you'll just have to give it a few minutes. See, we're over 2,000 down now. It's going. So we're going to fill in a whole crap ton of data, basically, as fast as we can. And then, again, for the bounce back group, all you're going to do is you're going to sort and find all the things that dropped by a lot. Some of the smaller ones might be crazy, and so we might avoid them a little bit. You could put a second filter on here if you wanted to, so instead of just doing change in the last percent change in the last 30 days, you could also put in a market cap filter and not deal with things that are of a certain size. Or you could do this with the S&P 500 tickers instead of the Russell 3000 tickers if you don't want to deal with as many small things, because maybe we don't trust small companies as much right now. But anyway, we just filled in 3,000 data points across quite a few different things. So then we can just hit Control-Shift, right, and hit left down, copy, right click, paste special values. Boom. And we now have a bunch of data that we can use. So that's where we're going to start, and this is where we're going to build our filter from. Oh man, that locked it up a little bit, didn't it? So that might take it a minute to do as well. Let's see how long this takes. It's not letting me do anything. So this might take just a little bit, but that's what we're going to do. And then we can create some columns off of here where we divide the free cash flow values by the revenues. So we can create ratios of free cash flow to revenue. And then once we get a list of companies that meet our minimum criterion, so we'll create a minimum acid test requirement and a minimum current ratio requirement based on what we're looking at. And then we'll look at a minimum free cash flow to revenue. So companies that generate a lot of free cash flow relative to their size, basically, we can build a filter that finds all companies that meet all three of those levels, and then those will be the ones that we start picking through as a team for the Cash Kings. Okay, and I don't know why I started calling you Cash Kings, but that's what I'm going with. Okay, it looks like it did it. See, so in, I don't know, how long have we been recording? Not very long, I don't think. Oh, I thought it said on here. I don't know. In 10 minutes or so, we can build out this big data spreadsheet with everything we want. And this will allow us to find some companies we never would have noticed before. I'm going to have to look at this a little bit because that looks weird. But anyway, some of these companies are going to be weird and get thrown out pretty quickly. Some of them are going to be more normal looking, and so like right here we have Apple again, so I can now delete that first row of Apple, but I now have all that data pulled. You can, if you want to, set up two columns here and divide G by 1,000,000, then divide H by 1,000,000, double click down, and then copy paste special over these so they're in the same scale as revenues if you want, and then build out the free cash flow to revenue, MRQ, and free cash flow to revenue trailing 12 months. So we could do it a couple different ways. But anyway, once we get here, we can do a bunch of stuff. So anyway, that's the idea. That's how you use that add-in, that Telemet IQ add-in. You can pull lots and lots of different types of data. We can talk more about it if this isn't enough. But I'm going to post this, and then this will hopefully give us a starting point.